I edit A-log footage for my Autel Evo 2 Pro to maximize the power of this sensor to get the best results possible. Are you ready? Let's start off with the ND32. Always make sure you clean your filters before you put them on, as well as after you put them on, because the last thing you want is to be filming A-log to get the best quality possible and you've got a dirty lens. Like, what's the point? See what I'm saying? While you're at it, might as well take the microfiber and clean your lens here before you put your filter cap on. The lens is just screw on, very simple. There you go, tighten it up, you don't want it to fall off. And then one last wipe or clean. That's it. We've pretty much done all we need to do on the ground. The rest of the work is in the air. So let's pull up our menu with the little scroll wheel over here. If you're not sure how to navigate the menus and stuff like that, you shouldn't be filming A-log yet. You should be getting a hang of the drone and the menu and stuff like that before you go for high quality footage. So I made a video about that. Check the link up here. So let's face Brooklyn. That's the general direction of proximity that we'll head to. Now I'm gonna shoot in 4K. Why am I gonna shoot in 4K when there's 6K or what's actually 5.4K? Why should I go with 4K? Well, because 4K is the only way you'll get 10-bit color. Once you go to 6K or 5.4K, you lose the 10-bit color. So Autel, if you're listening to us, hey, if the Air 2S can do 10-bit at 5.4K with their processor, I'm sure you can do 10-bit at 5.4K. So can we please get that? Because I love to film 5.4K, crop in some more, and take advantage of that 10-bit color. But anyway, we'll do 4K because that's the 10-bit. 30 FPS, 24 FPS, whatever you're gonna shoot at, it's fine. Your frame rate, your choice. I'm doing 30 today. MOV MP4, that's your choice as well. I'm an MP4 guy, right? Mac users usually prefer MOV. If you're going with 30 or 24, whatever frame rate you choose to go at, just remember that you have to double your shutter speed to your frame rate, right? So I'll show you in a second. And also remember that if you decide to shoot at 4K 60, you lose the 10-bit color. The 10-bit is only available up to 4K 30. Not only that, but you get a crop. You see it crops in. If I go back to 30, look at how wide it gets. So there's a crop in there, which can be useful, but you lose the 10-bit and you gain a crop. So I'm gonna stick with 4K 30, and that means that my shutter is going to be 1/60th, which is double of 30. 30 doubled is 60. Another thing that's important, remember to tap the focus before you go flying into the abyss, because the last thing you want is out of focus image. As I'm here, see this box at the bottom right over there? Click on that and then come down and make sure that you're in H.265. If you go in H.264, you lose 10-bit. In order to gain that 10-bit, you need to be in H.265. So make sure you're in H.265, all right? Manual exposure, of course, you want complete control, not only over your color, but over your settings so you can maximize the color. Now, why is my image so bright? I'll tell you why, because my ISO is at 400. Now, people will tell you, right, I'll click on the ISO, film at ISO 100. Now you see my image is underexposed. But my thing is, and people don't really tell you this on YouTube, but if you know professional filmers, they never film at ISO 100. They usually start around ISO 400. You want that sensor to be sensitive, right? You want that sensor to be very sensitive to light, and that way you get the cleanest image possible. You're not going to get grain at ISO 400. Trust me, you won't. Right, so I go with ISO 400, and I recommend you do if you really want to push the colors and push this sensor. Now we've got our shutter, double the frame rate. We're gonna adjust our aperture somewhere around 5.6. There you go. Now look at my exposure value. My exposure value is 0. I could go 5 or 5.6. If I go 5.6, it's a little dark. It's at -7. We'll keep it at f5. There you go, it's perfectly exposed. Perfectly exposed means 0. Right, you can eyeball it or you can use the exposure meter. I find the exposure meter to be generally very accurate here, so I'll work with it, right, normally. All right, is there anything else I need to go over? Yes, you have to go into log. Obviously, A log means you have to go into log. So if you're not in log, that's a problem. You can use manual focus if you have a focus puller and a bigger screen, but I have a smaller screen. I prefer to go use autofocus and tap to focus. Digital zoom, I'm not using any zoom right now because when you zoom, you do lose quality. We want the best quality, so we're not going to use zoom. Style, this is important, right? When you go on style, you have an option: standard, neutral, land, or customize. I have mine on customize, but it's at 000. A lot of people complain that this camera is way too sharp, like it is over sharp. If you're having the same issues where you find this too sharp for your likeness, just go to the sharpness over here, right? Click on it, and you can come down all the way to -3 and cut the sharpness. I love a sharp image. I'm sorry. I love a sharp image. Mine stays at 0. This is, again, preference. Color grading on the whole is artwork and it's preference, right? I might love it. You might not. You might love it. I might not. Got my white balance set to 5600. That's just me. I like my white balance at 5600. Just remember, the lower the number, the cooler or the bluer it gets. The higher the number, the warmer or the more orange yellow it gets. The second most important thing is that you don't go out hitting the record button for minutes upon minutes, because that leaves you a long time to sit down there and go through a lot of footage, and nobody wants to do that, trust me. Maybe I'll focus on 3 shots. I'll go out there and get 3 nice solid shots, anywhere from 3 seconds to 10 seconds max, and just focus on the color grading. So that's all we're here for, to get some sample shots. There we go. Now, is that a shot or what? There's your shot, guys. There is your color grading shot right there. Yeah, I know this one's running long, but this is a beautiful shot. Even if we use this one shot, this is going to be the shot. Gotta love it. Gosh, New York City, guys, huh? Gotta love it. All right. There we go. My battery life is running low, so I am going to be heading home. If you want to get good at color grading, it's not just the color grading process. It's not just the settings that's important. It's about getting good quality shots. Now, I get it. You might not be somewhere that's cinematic or scenic all of the time, but you could always take a little drive, right, to a different location, look at things, fly around, scout things out, instead of just going up there and blasting record, filling up your SD card with some heavy D-Log 4K footage or even 5K footage. It just doesn't make sense. Plan your shots out, execute well, take a few shots, and your computer, I can promise you, won't cry. Speaking of computer, let's head over there now. Now, you can edit in the field too if you have your laptop, because I spent all day out in the field. I just came home, got some rest, got up early the next day, and that's when I usually do my edits. DaVinci Resolve is my color grading program of choice. When I have like a really flat log, D-Log from Evo 2 Pro, or sometimes Mavic 2 Pro, this guy as well, I'll bring it to DaVinci Resolve. Number one, it's free. And number two, it is very powerful and used by professionals in the industry. So what you can get for free here will take you so far. It's unbelievable. All right, so I'm just gonna open the free version over here and open a new project. So let's go to import media and look for your clips wherever your clips are saved when you took it off the SD card and put it on your computer. And I have all of my clips here. Now I'm just going to focus on one main clip, which is the windmill clip. So I see 2 with the windmill here. I'll go with this one and this one just to be sure. Right. So let's hit change. Any editing program will ask you this. If you bring in a clip that has a different frame rate from the actual project that you opened, it will ask you to change it. Hit change, because if you don't, it's not going to play back smooth in the timeline. Good. Now you've got your footage in your library, right? Or what's called a media pool, and drag it down into the timeline. Now I like to make sure I'm in the edit tab. Yes, you can be in the cut tab if you want to cut the clip first, but you can also cut it in the editing tab. So it's all up to you. Now look at the edge over here. You could see the windmill in there. a little bit of the blades. So I'm going to go back a little bit to where the blade just comes out of the frame. Yes, you've got the city in the backdrop there. And I'm going to hit cut. And I'm going to delete this first piece here because I simply do not need it. So when I hit play now, there you go. So it's always good to take a little bit of time to trim your clips before you color it because, well, it's just less strain on the computer because it's a shorter clip. Here we go. That's the shot I'm looking for. As soon as the windmill leaves the frame, that's when I'm going to stop. Highlight the clip, cut it, and delete it. I'm going to select somewhere around here where I can see the windmill clearly and the city in the background, and that's the part that I want to focus on for coloring. So highlight the clip and then come at the bottom here over to your color tab. Your color tab is where the magic happens. Great. Now the color tab brings a whole plethora of what can seem a little confusing. So here's what I usually do. Look at this little drop down arrow there. It says log, but you don't have to start with log. You could start with the wheels. You could start with the bars, right? So I usually like to start with the wheels. So I will usually mess with the shadows, pushing the shadows and see how it affects the image, and then bring it down to see how it affects the image. Now you see the shadows it kind of creates like an overexposure. I want to be able to see the dark areas, and the log generally does that very well. That's definitely too bright. It's definitely destroyed the sky. Look at up here, right? The image looks very, very almost overexposed. You could take it down, but then, you know, the image kind of gets dark, so you kind of want to look for that, you know, main point. The water also looks very dark, so I'm going to push it up to the point where I see it's now starting to get bright, but not really affecting the sky. Like, look over here, I'm kind of losing the clouds, so I'm going to drop it down back and just bring it up just a tad. Find a point where it kind of over brightens and then go back down. Boom. That's my point. Now I can see the water clearly, I can see the sky clearly. That's pretty nice. Now over here, the highlights, I can brighten that up, but look what happens when you brighten the highlights. Look where did my sky go? It's gone, right? So highlights at 100, no, and then take it down back to the negative. Yes, you can see the sky very clearly, but the image just looks very dark. So what I like to do is make sure that I raise my highlights, but to the point where I can get it as bright as possible without destroying the image, in particular the sky, because the sky is usually the first thing to damage. So we're at negative 100. Let's bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. Sky looks, oh, I'm starting to lose the sky there. See that? Starting to lose the sky, the puffiness, the nice puffiness that you see over here. So let's take it back down a little bit, bring it back up, take it down, play with it a little bit. That's my sweet spot. That's my sweet spot right there. Right, I still have all my puffiness and the whole image is nice and bright. Usually I'll check my details in my mid-tones over here and bring it up. It's at 0 right now, so let's bring it up and see what happens. Oh, this doesn't look bad at all. Bring it down and see what happens. So your mid details, kind of like when you lower it down, you can see I'm losing details. I can't make out what's what. And then when you take it back up, it just looks too like a painting or like a drawing. It just doesn't look natural. It's very similar to contrast. It looks over contrasty. Yes, there's details in the back here, very clear, but look, it's almost making the water look very fake. So what I like to do is double click on it. Let's start at the 0 point and just bring up the details a little bit, just a little bit, probably 14, 15, where it doesn't damage the water. Here we go, 19.5, that looks good. I'm at 19.5 plus 19.5. I've got the details in the background, the city and everything, but I don't want the focus to be too much on the city. I also want the windmill, so I'm not gonna highlight the city too much, and the water still looks natural as well. I'm starting to get a little bit of thing in the water, but where it's looking a bit unnatural, but I think 19 is the sweet spot for me. You might like that heavy detail, right, in your life. That's just you. Go right ahead and knock yourself out, right? Whatever you want, whatever looks good to you, that's what's most important. This is just what looks good for me. It's generally why I don't use LUTs. I like to color each footage uniquely. We've also got a contrast bar over here where we can push the contrast. So bam, look at that. You push the contrast, it just, wow, it really brings it out. But you don't want too much contrast, because look what it does to the image. And you don't want too little contrast because it looks flat, right? So I'll double click on the contrast, zero it out, which looks good, but I want just a touch of contrast in it. Look at that. Oh, look at the sky starting to pop again with that contrast. Oh man, that contrast looks beautiful, but not too much, just a tad, 1.26 contrast. So we could push it a little bit more if we want, yeah. But I don't like my contrast too much, because I think that the footage starts to look a lot like DJI footage. As you can see, it's starting to look like a DJI camera, because they're known for their high contrast look. It's a good way to make an image look very detailed, even though it's not. So we're going to leave it at 1 point plus 1.74. That's good enough. Let's go over to log. There you go. Log also has its settings up here for shadows, midtones, and highlights, and offset these wheels. So I'll touch these wheels and see if they help. And then you can always hit the reset button if you don't like how it looks, right? Same thing here, if I forgot to mention it. If you push something like color boost, let's just push the color boost all the way up crazy to 100. You don't like how it looks, just double tap on the color boost and it'll go back to what it was. Normally what a lot of people will do as well is create a node. You'll create a node and then do your coloring on top of that. You can do that too. But if I'm just doing basic color grading, then I won't apply a node. That's just me, because I can usually zero everything out and fix it. I normally apply nodes, but this is just basic color grading, so you don't have to apply that. And then if you're using something like Filmora X, it doesn't have nodes. So we'll talk about nodes and all that in more in-depth stuff, and we're gonna start noding it up. But for basics right now, we just want to color. Let's go over to highlights. Wow. Now the highlights is really helping here. Not only is it helping, but it's adding some color as you highlight. See, it's making the image more colorful as you highlight it. And then the sky looks kind of really highlighted and nice. So I like that. Let's zero it back out and let's punch these highlights, right? And notice I haven't even added color yet, but look at my sky, how it's come to life. Just beautiful, right? We have the highlights at 0.13, which looks awesome, I think. And last is offset. Let's push the offset, right? Basically, I like to push things extreme left, see how it looks, and then push things extreme right, and then see how it looks as well, right? Because you always have the reset button. This here, I think the image looks good already. I don't think that I need to do anything on the offset. I like how balanced and nice it is. That is my image. Now, before I start bumping up the colors, let's hit save. Let's boost these colors up. Let's start pushing the colors, 59, 60. I usually hover around 60, 65 the most, between 55 and 65, depending on how much color I want or how bright I want it. So yeah, so let's push this up to, right now we're at 62. This looks very natural. This looks comparable to what I think I filmed. We can also mess with the temperature to make the image warmer or cooler. To the left is blue, to the right is orange or yellow, and that's why a lot of people say don't worry too much about the white balance, because you can change that in the temperature settings when you're actually color grading. So that's what we're doing right now. I can't remember if it was a warm day or a cool day, but I just kind of like, let's reset the temperature. I don't like this. I don't think it was that much of a cool day. Let's just add some warmness to it, just a touch of, give you that yellowness in it. So we've got 210. Zero it out back. You see how blue it looks? Let's just warm it up a little bit. There we go, back to 210. 200 looks nice. I like that warm effect in it. Again, your choice, right? But not too much. Let's back it down a little bit, because the water to me is starting to get yellow, and that I don't like, right? So let's 150. That looks kind of warming up. Pushing the hue a little bit to the left around 46. I kind of like this. I kind of like this because it creates some separation between the green trees and the blue water. So 46 is looking good. If I zero it out, it's 50. Yeah, let's bring the number down. I kind of like that 46 again. I like my hue there. There's just something about it that just looks nice, looking at the image, the overall appeal. Now you hit P to enlarge your image so you can see what it looks like. You can add a little bit more saturation if you want, if you feel like it needs a little bit more saturation. Let it run for a little bit and look. This just looks natural, and I still have my puffiness in my clouds in the back. I have my trees at the back there, but not too green, nothing too bright. The city's in the back there. This just looks natural and not oversaturated. But you can always boost the saturation from 62. Let's bring it up and add some more color. 68, 69. What the frick? Let's push it to 71 because this is 10. It will hold it, right? It will absorb those colors and it won't spill over. So look at that. 70 something actually looks good if you're looking for a more colorful kind of image. And then sometimes what I like to do, if I mess with the saturation, I'll just play with the temperature, because sometimes the saturation can also make the image get too cool or too warm. So in this case, it just got too cool. I'll warm up the image a little bit to create some separation between. Oh, look at that. That's what I'm looking for. I remember when this guy came out, the Mavic 2 Pro, it was a warmer image compared to the Phantom 4 Pro, and a lot of people didn't like that, but it was just a simple tweak. I've pushed the saturation to 71%, and it's still, the image is still holding up really, really well. Here just looks a little bit too saturated for me. I like the sky and the trees and everything, the saturation, but over here just looks a little unnatural with this orange. Just looks a little too bright. I will kind of tone that down a little bit, but that's me. But that's coming in a further video. If it's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe, and of course let me know in the comment section. Now suppose I have another clip, bring in 8 and drag it into the timeline. Now this image is not colored, it's pretty flat. Now instead of taking the time to go through all of those steps again, what I'll do is come to the image that I did color grade, right click on it and hit copy. Just hit copy. Yes, you're copying the image, but you're also copying the settings. Come back to the new image, right click on it and hit paste attributes. Not paste, paste attributes. And then DaVinci is going to ask you, just check this box which says video attributes, and that will pretty much copy all the video settings over into this new clip, including your color correction over here, right? So I just leave it checked, everything checked, and I hit apply. Boom. Now look at this image. This image just went from uncolored to colored. There you go. Now obviously I'll right click over here and I'll do stuff like add music. So I'll import media again, and then I have a music file where I keep all my music. I'll just highlight my music and bring it in. Yeah, not the best of sound choices, but whatever. Let's just drag it in to make a point over here. There we go. The music kind of starts where the wave is, so I'll cut here, highlight this clip, cut it, and delete it so the music starts right away. I'm finished. I come over to the Deliver tab. Good. So I've named my project Evo 2 Pro Colored, YouTube. Browse where you want it to go, Evo 2 A-Log at PC, because I'm at my PC. Hit save, come down, make sure your format's good. Yeah, H.264 is good for me for a final export. 30 frames per second, Ultra HD, which is 4K, quality best, of course, and that's about it. Add to render queue, then it comes over to this side. Once I hit render all, boom. that's the basics in a nutshell. Make sure you leave this video a big like and also subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you hit the bell to get notified when I release new color grading videos for the Evo 2 Pro. All right, hit me up in the comment section. Let me know if there's anything else that you need. I'll do my best to answer it for you. I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you guys whenever I can. Make sure you become a Patreon, guys. Big benefits to Patreon. Get direct access to me. Any questions? I'm right here on Patreon. Support this channel, and there's benefits. Last Mini 2 went all the way to the UK.